Hey there, you awesome bipeds, quadrupeds, and even the occasional dinosaurs. It is I, Little Wolf, and welcome to my den. Go ahead and come on in and take a seat by the fire. The cauldron's always bubbling, so go ahead and grab your choice of tea, coffee, or hot chocolate. We're not going to be in this area for too long. Hold on just a moment, let me grab something to drink. Sorry about that. Okay. We're going to be blasting off because I'm going to be doing a review of the movie 1972's The Doomsday Machine. And with that being said, bippity, boppity, boopity. There we go. Seems like a little bit of a better atmosphere to do this in. And to a lot of you who are new to the channel, I do reviews of either old movies, old TV shows, old radio shows, podcasts, and things like that. And I figured, since this is going to be my first episode on here for the Thursday premiere group, hello you awesome bipeds and quadrupeds out there in the audience now, welcome. Let's have some fun with this. And this movie itself is a lot of fun, and it's made back in 1972, like I said. Oddly enough, while I was doing my quote-unquote own research for this movie, I saw that it was made by two different people. At one point the movie was being worked on, then it was scrapped and somebody else picked up the leftovers and decided, I can do something with this, let's go ahead and try. And that's such a cool idea that somebody would go through and find somebody else's work and decide, I can do something with this, and here's what happened. And it does kind of show as the movie progresses. At one point you see the Doomsday device, and then later on you see it again, and it turns into a totally different looking machine. Supposedly the haircuts and things like that of the people who are in the movie do change a bit. I didn't really see it all that much. But that also shows, hey, they did a good job of patchworking this movie together. Now let's do a quick synopsis of the movie. Spies discover that the Red Chinese have built a doomsday machine, quote-unquote, capable of destroying the surface of the Earth, and that they plan to use within a matter of days. Meanwhile, Project Astra, a manned U.S. space mission to Venus, is on its final hours before launch when it is taken over by the military, and nearly half of its all-male crew is replaced by women. The reason for this becomes apparent when, shortly after Astra leaves orbit, the Earth is completely destroyed in a global cataclysm. Dun dun dun. Is the human race doomed? What dangers and wonders await the crew of Astra on its journey to Venus? And that's a very good question, and this movie really has a fun time of showing us some different perils that they have on a mission to Venus. And originally, I think it was supposed to be like a 2-year mission to Venus. It would supposedly take about 4 months to fly there. They would land, spend about a year on Venus, a year or a year and a half, somewhere around there on Venus, doing tests and things like that to try and figure out how Venus is. And then they would take another 4 months to fly back. So approximately 2 years, give or take, an astronomical unit. And with the cast and crew, you have Bobby Van as Danny. You have Rita Lee, or Ruta, Ruta Lee as Dr. Marion Turner. You have Mala Powers as Major Georgiana Brunsky, which is a Russian on a U.S. space mission. And that has its own plot twists later on. You have James Craig as Dr. Hines. Grant Williams as Major Kurt Mason. Henry Wilcoxon as Dr. Christopher Perry. You have Casey Kasem as the Mission Control Officer. And I think that's really cool. To have a name like him be in a movie like this that was probably out there to create star power and everything else. And you have Laurie Scott, who plays Lieutenant Katie Carlson. And this movie has so many twists and turns. Well, not really so many, but it has quite a few. And the first of it is, it's going to at first be an all-male crew flying to Venus, which I think would be kind of boring, just being stuck in with 7 guys out in space for 2 years and a year on a planet and things like that. But then it gets twisted around that 3 of them are going to be taken off the mission and 3 women are going to be brought aboard. And so much happens here where it's the whole misogyny thing where, the spaceship isn't accommodated to have women on there. There's going to be no privacy, probably no supplies for Aunt Flo's monthly visit type thing. And the women are like, we aren't asking for special accommodations or anything else. And they have about a half hour or so before the launch when all of this takes place of the switching of the men to the women, which is just kind of a weird thing, and it's supposedly a presidential order and a military order. It becomes a military lockdown on the area where they're at. And it's just all so odd when that happens. But then they do take off, and as it said, the Chinese do use their quote-unquote Doomsday device, and it somehow causes a weird chain reaction, and the Earth falls down and goes boom boom. Which is just so weird. And you slowly discover that there's radiation being leaked from the Earth after the explosion, and it's chasing the spaceship as it flies to Venus, and so they have to use up more of their fuel to try and outrun it, but they use the fuel that they were going to use on their return flight to Earth, and since there's no Earth to return to, they don't need the return fuel. And it just gets all so weird and twisted and everything else because the radiation, they have a weird radiation shield, which is just a curtain of lead, so it's kind of funny. It's almost like when you go to the dentist and he puts like a little lead bib on your body and then runs around behind a concrete wall to take your pictures, and it's like, yeah, you'll be fine with just this lead curtain. And that's what this looks like to block it out, but apparently it does work because the older doctor has a Geiger counter and he says yes, it's blocked out a good majority of it, but the radiation that's left over is going to wind up making us sterile if we hang around in it too much. And so now we have a modern day Noah's Ark out there in space outrunning radiation, and they're not going to be able to reproduce. And that does throw a bit of a more monkey wrench into the whole works, and they somehow work it out. And it also turns out that with the fuel and everything that they have, they're not going to be able to land safely on Venus. So they're gonna have to only have 3 people left aboard, and those 3 people are gonna go onto Venus and populate Venus with humans somehow, which I think at one point they say it's like a modern day Adam and Eve situation and a modern day Noah's Ark situation. But it does make you wonder though, I mean, repopulating with just those 3 people, and then, yeah, there's so many questions that ding 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 don't get answered. But they do wind up making it to Venus. Uh, some people will wind up getting left behind. There's the old Russian probe that's found and used and everything else. And that's pretty much the whole movie in a nutshell. And there turns out there's creatures on Venus, and you never get to really see them. But from what I've seen, there was supposed to be a scene on Venus, but they ran out of money to be able to do it, so they wound up just having the people talk to the Venusians when they're on the spaceship. And just from what it winds up to is only 2 people are left of the human race. The Venusians are telling him, you can't come here because we've watched what's happened on the Earth. We've seen what you guys did. You wiped out your chance to live in our area of the solar system, and we're going to jettison you to the rim of our galaxy. So, you know what? Go have fun and populate over there. And that's the movie in a nutshell. And with as weird as that does sound, it's a fun movie with it only having approximately 7 people on the ship. You have Casey Kasem, who does his quick little thing. Um, you have there's a Chinese spy girl at one point, and here's a funny thing that happens. Someone gets choked out with their own hair. I mean, I just wonder if that can really happen, and if we can test that somehow to see if that would happen. And it's hard to tell whether the person just gets kind of put into a weird sleeper hold and that happens, or if the person dies. The acting wasn't that great. But this is a 1970s movie, and the special effects in it aren't all great or anything else, and it just kind of, when I watch a movie like this and you hear the different, like, moon deniers or flat earth deniers, blah blah blah, whatever you want to call them, and they say that Hollywood was able to fake the moon landing and fake the pictures of Earth from space and everything else, and then you look at movies like this with a picture of Earth like this, and you wonder, how can you believe that that happened? That the moon landing was a hoax and everything else. But I digress on that. This is definitely a fun movie to sit down and watch, especially when you kind of look at the interactions between the male crew and the female crew, and you look at just the technology that is there around them, all the different knobs and buttons and whistles and everything else, the technology of the Doomsday machine when they do show it. Here's a picture of it. I mean, look at that. And look at the security for it. And also, here's another way you can kind of tell there was a different production team working on it later. Here's this picture. It doesn't exactly look the same. But they were working with what they had. And it's just fun to sit down and watch 7 people who are supposedly the last humans on Earth traveling to Venus. And that's another question, is why would you want to go to Venus? I mean, you're closer to the sun. It's going to be hotter. It's not going to be cooler. It's not going to be anything else. You know, the whole thing of maybe going to Mars as a possible new colony type thing makes a little bit more sense because you're a little bit further away from the sun. It's not as hot, and it just seems like a better destination plan. But as I said, this kind of a movie really grabs my attention because it's one of the older sci-fi movies that's fun to watch. There's so many bad movies out there from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and this is definitely one of the ones that I would fall into. It's a fun movie. Sit down with your friends or your family, grab some popcorn, grab some drinks, grab whatever, and just have some fun and kick back and relax with this movie. And there's just so much in it that happens, and even if I were to talk about it and show all of it, it would still just be fun to sit down and watch. I mean, I've had to watch this movie twice now in the last 2 days. Once just to see what it was like, twice to grab some screenshots from it that I thought would work good on this quick little episode. And so being able to sit down twice and watch a movie and still be entertained by it within a week, it's gotta be at least fun. And to, like I said, just see the different technology that they had back then. The different hairdos, the weird way they serve meals, oh my god. And just sit back and have a good time and check your brain at the door for an hour and a half. Actually, I think this movie is like an hour and 15 minutes. And that is the whole point of Hollywood, is to have you sit back, relax, and have fun for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, or whatever. Just take a breather from the stupid out in the world. And that's kind of what my channel is for, to sit back for. Some of my videos are almost an hour and a half long. Some of them are 20 minutes long. Some are 15. Just kind of sit back, relax, take a breath, have some fun, and check out the things that I find interesting, and I hope you will like them. And that's what I hope to do. Just to have some fun and show you guys what I think is fun. And I hope you did. And remember, we only have one planet. No, not this one in this picture here, but kind of. We all have one planet to live on. So let's at least try and be civil with one another. And if we can't be civil, let's try and not say anything at all. And with that being said, I love all of you guys so much, and thank you for joining me on this trip to Venus and back. And who knows, maybe this space setting right here that I have will come in handy for later movies. If you guys enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment, what are some of your favorite old movies from the 60s, 70s, 80s? Maybe I'll check them out and do a quick review on them later on down the road. But that's what this is for, just to have fun. And I hope you guys have a good morning, a good afternoon, a good evening. Have a good something. And just be kind to one another. I love you guys so much. Bye-bye, you awesome bipeds, quadrupeds, and even the occasional dinosaurs.